I'm Marcie Billen with Team Realty and Keller Mulinix here in Norman, Oklahoma, and today I want to answer the question, is earnest money refundable? So welcome to our channel. I want to answer this question from both a buyer's perspective and a seller's perspective. But if you're thinking about purchasing a house, you may want to watch this video next. If you're thinking about selling your house, you may want to start by watching these videos. So what is earnest money? So earnest money is an amount of money that's actually written into the Oklahoma sales contract, and it's deposited into a trust account. So it's not just a check that the title company or your real estate agent holds for you, but they actually put it into an account. And honestly, I like to think of it kind of like blood money. Like you're saying like, hey, I'm really serious about this house, so I want to buy it, and here's my $1,000 or $500 or $2,000, depending on the purchase price, to show you, the seller, that I'm really serious about purchasing this house. So what happens to this earnest money? Does it just disappear at the closing table? Does the seller get to keep it? No. So all that earnest money does is go directly into your down payment. So does the seller get to keep it? Well, kind of, yeah, because you're paying them for the house. But it's gonna go toward your down payment as the buyer. So how much earnest money do you actually need? Well, in Oklahoma, we don't have a hard set amount. What I do as a real estate agent is I think of it like, okay, well, 1% would be nice, but it can be less than 1%. That's okay. So let's say if you're buying a $100,000 house, I'm totally okay with you putting $500 as earnest money, as long as the seller's okay with that. And then if you're buying a $300,000 house, we'll probably say $2,000 or $2,500 for your earnest money. So is this refundable? Yeah, for a buyer, absolutely. I've never actually had the experience in my career where the seller gets to keep the earnest money from the buyer. And I have another video on this too about breaking the contract. You can watch it here. So for instance, as a buyer, if you back out of the real estate contract during home inspections, you would typically get your earnest money back. Now, both buyer and seller have to agree to this. Another thing that people don't realize is, let's say the day before closing, something happens, like, God forbid, your boss fires you, right? The bank calls your boss or your HR department the day before closing to make sure that you have a job. And if they say, no, I'm sorry, they don't work here anymore, then you're gonna be denied for your home loan. Typically, if that happens, then technically, as per the Oklahoma real estate contract, you would receive a refund for your earnest money because you were denied a loan and you can't buy the house. Now, both buyer and seller have to agree. Okay, sellers, this earnest money was never really yours unless the purchase contract actually goes through. This is money that the buyer submits to show that they're very serious about the house. And you want them to be serious about the house, right? So I commonly get asked by sellers, well, if the buyer backs out of the contract, do I get to keep the earnest money? And this usually comes up right as the buyer says, okay, I don't want the house, because emotions are very high at that point. And the answer is typically no. And here's the biggest reason, guys. I mean, if it's $1,000 and you want to keep it and you don't want to, sign the piece of paper that says the buyer gets it back, well, maybe the buyer will be okay with that. Or maybe they won't, and maybe they'll take you to small claims court, and maybe they'll try to get it back from you, and I guarantee you the judge is going to give it back to the buyer, because in Oklahoma, our real estate contracts are so buyer biased. And that's because they don't have a house, and you do. So if the buyer kept to the timelines and they did their inspections, everything happened, and then, right before closing, the day before, 2 days before closing, they get denied for a loan, technically, they still get their earnest money back in full. The only true fighting chance that you have as a seller to keep that earnest money is if the buyer just changes their mind right before closing or after the inspection period or something like that, and they don't have a denial letter from their lender. They just changed their mind. Just said, I'm scared to buy a house, or I don't want this house, or something happened. Then you would have a fighting chance of actually keeping the earnest money. And honestly, in that situation, I've heard about it from other realtors And basically the buyer feels bad, right? Because you've kept your house off the market for a month or however long, and they do just give up that earnest money. But that all depends on the emotions of the situation. Was this answer helpful? Go ahead and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss anything.